I welcome Khalil Salaam.
The basis of my story is going through life, beating stereotypes as a double minority for myself, as being an African-American man and also being born and raised Muslim in the city of Philadelphia, and progressing through life and through corporate America and beating the stereotypes that come along with that. So as I was putting this together, what I want this group to take away is I put a phrase together and it says, go along for the ride, no matter how rough the terrain is, as long as the path is pointed forward. So today, I am the general manager for Pepsico. I manage a $100 million budget. I have a team of 400 people that report into me. And I also was just appointed recently to be the Northeast chair for an employee resource group called Mosaic. So I support the development of other leaders in the Northeast that is at least a frontline manager right below an executive. And for me, growing up in the inner city and growing up poor, I would never in a million years think that I would be in a situation, in a position that I am now. Growing up, my dad worked the same job for 40 years. He was a hard working man, and I think I got my work ethic from him. Just a little bit about my background before I really go into the stories, the key parts of my story. I grew up with 11 siblings, 4 brothers and 7 sisters. So it was, even though we were poor, it was like really poor with getting food. So currently I got 3 beautiful children of my own. And I'm married to probably my biggest supporter. There she go right there waving. I was wondering where she is. Sharita. Been married for 7 years. But basically, growing up in the hood and being poor and growing up in the hood, the first half of my life was really trying to make it to age 21. And I say that a lot of African Americans in the hood, you don't think you'll live to 21 because you just see so many homicides, so many people die, and you miss. So the first part of my life was that was a goal of mine, right? July 18th, 1988, I was 4 years old, and it was a hot summer day, and all of the kids in the neighborhood came to the block and they knocked on the door and asked could I walk to the store with them. And this was like a ritual that we would do. We had a penny candy store on the corner, and we would gather our pennies and our coins, and we would go to the store as a group, and we would buy penny candy from the store. And this one day, my mom told me no. I was 4 years old, she said no. But we would go in groups of like 10, 12 sometimes, and just have fun getting candy. So this one day, she said no. I was pissed off. I wanted to go. And but I listened, and I didn't always listen, because sometimes when she would leave my sister in charge and she would leave out, she would say, don't leave out this door until I come back. And we would play in the neighborhood and play in front of each other's house. So when she would leave sometimes and say, don't go outside, she would say, don't go out this door. So we had a door and there was 2 windows next to the step. So as soon as I knew she was gone, I would lift the window up and I would climb out the window and I want to step and I would hang out with my friends until I see her turn the corner. I would hop back in and close it. And my sister would yell at me when she see me go out the window, Mommy said, don't go out the door. I said, I didn't go out the door. Like, I went out the window. Like, so this day, I didn't go out the window or the door. And all my friends left and I was sitting there upset, waiting for them to come back. And maybe 5 minutes later, gunshots rang out. I hear gunshots, screaming, yelling and screaming. And I'm at the window and I'm looking, trying to figure out what's happening. My mom, everybody in there trying to figure out what's happening. And next thing I know, I see one of my friends being carried and I see blood pouring out of the top of his foot. I was 4 years old. This might be my youngest memory. I remember it looked like a jar of jelly was opened on his foot and people was carrying him. I was trying to figure out, what just happened? And my mom ran down to figure out what's going on, and she was helping bring some kids out of there. And at that corner store, it was like a drug war went on, as everybody was in the store that day. Two guys ran into each other, had a disagreement, whatever, and they started shooting up the place. So that day, one of my friends, his name was Marcus Yates, he was 5, he got murdered. So just recently, I think this year, they named the corner of that street after him, Marcus Yates Way. So fast forward, when I got to 4th grade, so at this point I probably was 9 or 10 years old, and my best friend at that time was a guy named Lamar Jones, and he was a super fun guy to be around. And we would be in class. I went to all public schools in the inner city, and he was a clown. He was just a fun energy type of guy. And one day I remember the teacher saying, she was trying to get him to stop. We were clowning. She would say negative stuff all the time. You won't stop playing. You know, you're going to be a loser. Yada 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 yada. But this one day, she said, she was pissed off at him. She said, I bet I read about you being murdered before you turn 21. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, right? That was my best friend. Her saying that to him was like almost like her saying that to me. And I knew it was the reality. I'm still trying to make it to 21. And I've already had friends murdered at 4 and 5 years old, seen people shot already. And it was just like, dang, like, she really just said that. And I knew it weighed on him. So he was a guy who was into hip hop and stuff too. He could dance, he could rap, he would freestyle a lot. And when I think back, almost every time he would freestyle, you would hear him mention her saying that to him in his freestyle. And when you freestyling, sometimes the words come out, it's really a freestyle. You don't plan to say certain things, it's just what's on your mind, so to speak. And he would always make rhymes about her saying that. And I remember when he turned 21, when he was celebrating his birthday, he brought it up again. He said, you remember the teacher told me I wouldn't make it to 21? And he was like super excited about that. I made it, I'm here, or whatever, right? But then the same thing. When he was 24, right? I just got out of college. When he was 24, his best friend got murdered, right? The next day, he went to the place where he was murdered for a memorial to take him teddy bears to put around a pole right there. When he went up to place the teddy bears, he got murdered in the same spot. And I had graduated college from undergrad 2 years before that, and it just blew me away. I just was like, wow. And I thought, of course, first thing I went back thinking about the teacher saying that. It's like, yeah, he beat 21. He made it to 24, 25. And I was sitting there like, wow, like, still in awe that she said that about him, right? And then for me, we was like separated, so to speak, because I got into basketball. Basketball probably was one of the best things that happened to me. I was really good when I was young, and that's what led me to college. When I went to college, I went to Jefferson University, but prior to that, I went to a JUCO because I didn't have the right grades to get into college. But I remember, my basketball coach, a guy named Lou Beaster, I remember he would always tell me how smart I was and always tell me how bright I was and I could do so many things in life. He would tell me in the hallways or wherever, anytime I got bad grades, he would say, this is you. You got the bad grades because you just didn't do the work. If you wanted to do it, you would get good grades. But you chose not to do it, so this is what you get. But you're smarter than this. And he would laugh and say, I don't tell this to all the players. He said, but I'm telling it to you. So as I got more serious about basketball, I was getting recruited, but my grades weren't good enough, so I had to go to a junior college in Kansas. So I went to the junior college for a year, and I had dreams of going to the NBA. Like, that was the dream. That was the only way I knew out. One thing I meant to mention, I didn't know too many people. I didn't know people who had careers. I didn't know the difference between a career and a job. Like, you were lucky to have a job. My dad had a job. He had the same job for 40 years. And all the people around me, like, I didn't know how to progress through a career. I didn't know that was a thing, really, or something for me. So I went to school 100% for basketball because I thought college was a path to the NBA. That was my mindset. And I didn't even care like what my major was. It was just like, I'm just going here and play basketball, like really. And I went to the junior college for a year, and I hated it out there. Then I transferred to Shippensburg. So it took even while I was at Ship a year to realize like, all right, I'm at a Division II school. I didn't have injury down my back at this point. I was just like, all right, you're not going to the NBA. So what do you do now? I already invested this time in my education, so I always had a mentality to finish what I started. So I said, well, I'm at least leave with a degree. So I graduated with my bachelor's degree, and I started a position with Coca-Cola, and I was working with Coca-Cola as a frontline manager. Actually, I started as a sales rep, then I worked my way. I had maybe 5 or 6 roles with them, and then I worked for a water brand before I came to PepsiCo. So when I actually think about my journey and look back on my career path, I pull certain nuggets from my experiences in life, and still to this day, I can't really still wrap my head around the teacher saying that to my friend. So here I am now. I think I gave you a summary. I got my master's degree in business. I've had over 8 progressive roles across my career. And now I lead a team of 400 people. Never in a million years would I imagine it from the background I had. Now through that journey, it's really 3 stereotypes that I had to fight through, and the road was bumpy. And one of those was just not being a dumb jock. And it made it look like I was dumb with some of my grades at some points, but it was because I didn't do the work. I just didn't do the work. When I did the work, I got good grades. That was one stereotype I had to fight through, right? So the funny part was, once I did get good grades, the people would think that the teachers would give me the grades because I was a ball player. And it's just like, as soon as I get a good grade, like, oh, they gave that grade because this game coming up or whatever. They didn't want you to be ineligible. It's like, no, like I finally just did the work. But that was the talk. The other stereotype is from me being African American and me being big, like, I'm not gonna hurt you. Like, I go through life, I'm 6'4", 245 pounds, right? African American, and people just assume, people are intimidated for no reason, right? Besides the way I look. I dealt with that professionally. It was a time I actually, I was in an interview for a role, and I felt like I did a really, really good job. I actually still got the role, so I guess I did do a good job in the interview. But the last question the guy asked me was, he said, let me ask you one last question. He said, can you tell me how you want to not intimidate your team? I was like, what? Like every other question I had to answer, like boom, boom, boom. You asked me else. I said, no, like I really can't tell you that because I never thought of how to not do that. Like I didn't know that that's what I'm doing. So no, like anybody who know me would tell you I'm a nice guy. Like I said, I don't know. And then it's times like you hear all the jokes. You might be in a meeting, you know, referred to as a bodyguard. Or one time I was at a grand opening for a Wegmans, and I was dressed, but I had a suit on, had a blue suit on, right? And I remember walking into the door, and everybody is dressed nice for like these grand openings for the store. All the vendors come out, and the store manager usually give a talk. Sometimes the owners come, and I remember walking in, and as soon as I walked in, everybody staring at me. Like as I walked in, I'm like, why is everybody looking at me? And I felt it for like 20 minutes straight, even after the speech was over. There's one guy never stopped looking at me. Like, why is he looking at me like this? Then, and granted, this is a Wegmans grand opening. This guy walks up to me on the side. He says, excuse me, how are you? I'm okay. He said, introduce yourself. I'm Khalil. He said, what do you do? And I said, at that point, I worked for Coke. I said, I work for Coca-Cola. I'm general manager. I'm just here for the grand opening. He said, oh, I thought you were like part of the Secret Service or something. I'm like, at a Wegmans grand opening? Like, why would, like this is stuff like I gotta deal with. I'm just like, I just, you know, can't figure it out. But these are the stereotypes. And it's a lot of stories like as you know, as I progressed in my career that I had to deal with, and then being Muslim, of course, and being a terrorist. It's like, that's what's thrown around when anything involves a Muslim is you're a terrorist. I remember when 9/11 happened, I was in high school, I believe, and I just remember not really being able to understand what just happened. And getting home and my dad calling the house and telling me, make sure your sisters and stuff stay in the house. Some serious stuff going on. You just need to be careful. Everybody need to be careful right now. I'm just trying to figure out, just at this point, people were like retaliating. It was cab driver just because they had the turban on was getting shot, it was getting beat up, and it was all kind of stuff happening. But it's fighting through those stuff, and it's even going through the corporate world and being Muslim and hearing, you know, the small talk and the negative connotations that some people may assume about the faith. So these are some things that, you know, I had to deal with throughout my career. And that's where I came up with the slogan about go along for the ride, no matter how rough the terrain is, as long as the path is forward. And through all my experiences, personally, I'm a guy now who I'm committed to growth. So I now apply the same principles that I did with basketball and improve my game to my life. I don't know where the next 5 years or so, you know, will take me. I know that it'll be, one, for me to continue to improve myself, and two, help bring other people along to help improve themselves, especially people who are fighting against some of the same stereotypes that I'm fighting. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, the message I want to leave is, be like my coach and lift people up and tell people they can do more. And don't be like the teacher who was deaf on people. Thank you.